Villains beware, the shadow has arrived. Justice shall be served. If you enjoy this build or want to see more builds like this, then hit the like button and let me know in the comments. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that I can keep making great content for you all. The Shadow has Strength 1, Perception 4, Endurance 4, Charisma 1, Intelligence 2, Agility 9 and a Luck of 8. We don't rely on Strength for anything other than carry weight, so we can keep it at 1. A Perception of 4 gives us access to the perks we want and also helps with VATs. I did originally have the stat higher, and I would recommend putting perk points into this if you decide to go to a higher level than this build will take you. Endurance being sat at 4 means you will be able to take a few hits, making sure you don't go down too quickly when the action starts. Charisma is our other dump stat, as the Shadow just seems like a crazy person to everyone he talks to. Most people just avoid eye contact and walk away from him. Intelligence is at 2. The Shadow had his mind absolutely devastated, and now has problems with processing complex thoughts, and instead views everything in its most basic form. Agility is our highest stat at 9. This will give us plenty of action points to use, a critical factor in this build. Luck is our second highest stat at 8. The luck perks make VATS combat far better than it normally is, and ties in really well with a high agility too. The essential perks for this build are Gunslinger, Gun-Fu, Action Boy and Critical Banker. Gunslinger is our damage dealing perk, that not only will increase our damage, but also range and give a chance to disarm. Gun-Fu is a great perk for pistol wielding characters, as it increases damage to each additional target in VATS, helping us swiftly deal with groups of enemies. The Action Boy perk works great for any character who uses VATS, as it will allow you to get your action points back at an incredibly fast rate, and allow you to go back into VATS to deal with enemies far sooner than you normally would. Critical Banker is a great perk for any VATS-based character, but works even better for a pistol wielder, as we can use critical shots to land long-distance shots. As long as you have at least a 1% chance to hit, you can use a critical to land the hit. The recommended perks are Demolition Expert, Mysterious Stranger, Better Criticals, Grim Reaper Sprint and 4-Leaf Clover. Demolition Expert will give us an additional way to deal damage to enemies, and also lets us shoot throwables and VATS, a great way to deal with large groups of enemies with a single bullet. The Mysterious Stranger perk works quite well for VATS-based characters. As you are using VATS in every combat, there is an increased chance of the Mysterious Stranger appearing and killing an enemy for you. The Better Criticals perk works well for this character, as we already have the Critical Banker perk, meaning we will regularly have stored criticals that we can use. Grim Reaper Sprint and 4-Leaf Clover will help to ensure that our action points and criticals are regularly filled up and maximise the potential of a character. The role-playing perks this character uses are Locksmith, Idiot Savant, Chem Resistant and Gun Nut. The Locksmith perk is a very handy one, simply due to the number of lock containers in areas in the Commonwealth. Idiot Savant helps his character to level, and also represents how damaged his mind now is. Chem Resistant is used for this character, as he will use chems. This helps to increase the power of a build, and also represents that the testing done on the Shadow has made him resistant to addiction and dependence. Lastly, the Gun Nut perk is just a nice simple one to make it easier for us to mod out our pistols. You may not need this perk, but it is certainly a helpful one to have. The Shadow was once a normal man. He lived as a proud American, and when the communist threat rose up, he stepped forward and joined the ranks of the military, determined to protect his country. For years he served as a faithful soldier, but in time, an evil scientist fooled him into volunteering for a drug treatment that changed him forever. It made him faster, more accurate, and deadly with a pistol, but also severely changed his mind. He forgot who he had been before, and when the treatment was over, he was convinced that he was the Shadow, a vigilante who would fight for justice and vanquish any who served the forces of evil. Once the treatment was over, he broke free and fled away from the facility, leaving behind the army. He hid out in Boston and began planning on how to stop the evil that was present in the world. The scientists who had performed the tests on him were worried. They had been working on creating the perfect assassin, and they had come very close to succeeding. They didn't know why his mind had changed the way it had, but feared that he may return at some point, so they fled. What they didn't realise is that the Shadow wasn't who they had to fear. The scientists were brutally murdered by the woman who had been in charge of the experiments. They were found torn limb from limb in a brutal display of savagery, which would let everyone else working for her know that it was a bad idea to try and leave. While all this was going on, the Shadow had been walking the streets and dealing with the evil that was there. Be it thieves, thugs, or even attempted murderers, the Shadow would dispatch them with ease. To him, killing them was the right thing to do, and he was dealing out justice. He had to remain under the radar, as the police didn't seem to share this view, but there was a detective and a lawyer who ended up on his side. The detective helped him stay one step ahead of the police and not be caught by them while still being able to deal out justice, and the lawyer offered him constant advice and helped him track down the worst criminal scum that had escaped justice in the legal system. For years the trio worked together, and the Shadow and the lawyer even got married and lived together, but eventually the bombs fall and they have to flee to the vault. As the bombs are falling, the Shadow hopes that only the good are saved by Vault-Tec, and that this can be the start of a new civilization, filled only with the good and the righteous. The Railroad and Minutemen will be the main two factions that this character will side with, but you should focus more on just doing good than siding with specific people. The Shadow isn't concerned with taking sides as much as he is with fighting for the side of justice. This character will travel with any morally good companions. The main companion I went for though is Nick Valentine. He has a great personality and really adds to the justice dealing nature of this build. The primary weapon for this character will be a 44 pistol. Kellogg's pistol is a legendary variant that works very well for the character, but keep your eyes open for any other legendaries on your travels. Use pipe revolver pistols as backups and early game weapons. Keep in mind that these can fire .45, .38 or .308 rounds, giving you a lot of different options while still fitting with the theme of the build. The armour for this build is the Silver Shroud armour and hat. This provides a great aesthetic that really suits the character, and it gives out decent resistances when upgraded, and will also boost perception and agility, as well as reducing damage from humans. In addition, you'll also want to wear a pair of glasses. Standard eyeglasses will boost your perception, which is helpful for combat, and black-rimmed glasses boost your charisma, helping with bartering and speech checks. The Shadow is a fast-shooting pistol wielder that relies heavily on VATs. You want to be spending the majority of combat in VATs in order to build up criticals and also reduce the damage you take. Be careful with your action points management however, as if you sprint into a fight, then you won't be able to shoot people in VATs, and your fighting skills will be significantly reduced until you have your action points back. For roleplaying, be ruthless, but only towards evil villains and their minions. The Shadow is morally good, but his training also makes him quite a violent and precision killer, so he will dispatch evildoers without mercy. Thank you all for watching my latest Fallout 4 build. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. It really helps the channel to grow. If you're after some more content right now, then click on one of the links on the screen. The left one is supposed to be the best choice for you specifically, and the right one is whatever I felt like putting there. Tell me if they were good choices in the comments.